Since the onset of chronic pain conversations, we continually addressed coping and support systems as well as lifestyle remedies. So we're bringing you a two-part series on safe spaces. To start things off, this week we're talking about occupational therapists, who they are, what they do, and most importantly, how they help you. Are you ready for another chronic pain conversations? Let's go. Hi, and welcome to Chronic Pain Conversations. My name is Kalila Bruswell, and this is my wonderful co-host, Ms. Sharifa McLaren-Thomas. This is a show where we have open and honest dialogue about chronic pain conversations. We share on our experiences, acknowledge the wide variety of chronic pain diagnosis, and look at ways to manage chronic pain. So, to start things off, we normally get into our pain and pleasure. So, Sharifa, take us out. What are you, pain or pleasure today?
I can't even lie. I'm pleasure today. I'm not letting nothing bother me. I'm pleasure. I'm having a good week so far, in spite of, but for the most part, not worried about it. How about you?
I'm in pleasure. Actually, pain. Yeah.
You want to why?
Finishing off the finishing off some of the renovations, and then I had to head out of town, and so the travel took me out. Last night, I didn't even need a sleeping pill. I was out cold, so tired and hurt my body was. So
I think by now we know just traveling alone puts you in pleasure, though.
It's the nature, Mama. It's the serenity. It's the peace. It's the city sound. It makes me really, really happy. So I can't even get mad about this. So I
can't be mad at you.
For people that don't know, nature is actually very therapeutic. So putting yourself in sand, putting your feet in sand or grass, or just placing yourself in nature is very, very therapeutic. So I always suggest it for everybody.
Fair enough.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Okay. Kalila, we are doing our first two-part series. Tell our audience why you thought collaborating the topics occupational therapy and safe spaces, which we talk about safe spaces like home, work, and other environments, was a good idea.
Okay, so from my history, from my past, basically I've learned that occupational therapy helps you manage your way around those spaces, around work, around home, and other things. I've had the experience in terms of them helping me at work, or what I thought was helping me at work, and then them coming into my house a few times because of my accidents. Right. So I wanted people to understand that when we're talking about our safe spaces, which is next week, who can help them to create those safe spaces. I'm in the middle of renovation, but it's because of the occupational therapist, it's because of that person coming into my life that I've learned what I can and can't, what's out there, or how to take something and tweak it to make it more of a help me within my days of pain. So that's why I want to collaborate it. But what about you? You were on board with putting these two topics together, so talk to me.
So from the little that I know, from what you've explained about occupational therapists, the word that comes into my head is comfort. And I say that because they are there. Part of their job is to help us no matter what environment we're in, whether, we're on the road, going to the grocery store, or we're at home maneuvering around our house or at our workplace. They're giving us tools and techniques to make that environment comfortable. So I feel like all in all, they do go hand in hand.
Yeah, they do.
They help to create that safe space, right? So that's why I was pretty much on board, because it did make just logical sense.
It made logical sense. And we want to bring you Chronic Pain Conquerors more two-part series, because what we're learning with what we're doing is that everything's not just one part. There's so much that we're learning, even on particular topics, that we don't even get to get everything out. Yeah. So we're like, let's do this. So I'm pretty excited.
Okay. So According to a recent study done by theovercomer.com, 33 out of 320 people utilize an occupational therapist. That's only 10% of people. So, Kalila, I know you're going to share your personal story later, but right now, can you talk about what your first thoughts were around the word occupational therapist? And do you have any thoughts as to why that percentage may be so low?
Okay, so when you hear occupational therapist, you hear occupation and I think work. And
Yeah.
because my first experience was only work, I just assumed they only helped with work. It wasn't until my accident that I found out that they came into other places. And I think that that's part of the reason why there's so low numbers in terms of lack of promotion, lack of education. We don't hear about certain options that are available to us, certain services, unless someone else goes out there. But you know me, I'm like really, really resourceful.
Yeah.
And at one point, some people, especially if you're like on government assistance or things like that, which I've been on in the past, you feel like your funds are limited and there's this automatic assumption that I can't get this or I need to have a benefit for this. But what I really want us to break down in today's show is where they're available, how you can and how you can get assistance, because really and truthfully, most of them are free. I didn't even understand that with the programs, most of them are free. So I really just think it's, the lack of understanding or even the wording in itself, you might think work. So that was my 2 cents about it. What are your thoughts about
it? I definitely 100% off the bat said it was a work thing because I heard occupation in occupational, right? And mind you, I've always heard that word, but I'm always thinking it's something given through the workplace, someone that helps you get through your job if you're stressed out or whatever. I had no clue what the real definition of it. And it goes back to what you said. I think it's the lack of education.
Yeah.
And then even if you do know about it, you don't know your resources as to how to go about getting one and how can you proceed in even paying it or affording someone to help you get that necessity of, an occupational therapist.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's weird because I feel like it does an injustice to the actual profession by the name. And I'm not really sure where it came from, but it's a very interesting thing how a word can put you in one place and it may not give you the right definition.
Yeah.
Or how we ourselves, our mindset is because we hear things, we automatically remove ourselves from that situation. And then there's just also the part where, again, and I bring this up so much time, because we're in Western society, our first thing is to go for medicine. Give me the meds. Give me the push. That's what hits us, right? But even our doctors, like let's really talk about it. Even our physicians, they're not telling us as much it's just a massage or a physiotherapist, right? They're not telling you to go to the chiro. They're not telling you to touch the nutritionist or the occupational therapist. And there's so many services out there that are available to people, whether they have acute or chronic pain, and they don't know about it until it actually happens.
Yep.
Or they're just, this is how you have to live your life. And it's like, people, there's not.
Absolutely.
There's not. And I fight so much because I want to smile every day and not be in pain. And this is why people know.
Definitely. Okay. So, okay. Considering there are different types of pain needs, medication, lifestyle changes, treatment, as well as coping and support options, did you know there are different areas an occupational therapist can work in?
So I did it. Like I said before, I didn't know this. Like this was completely shocking to me. And when we were doing some of the research, we were looking at them working in different places, like people's homes or helping them manage themselves. So I'm actually in trying to explain all of these different aspects. We actually found a short 2-minute video that will give our CP conquerors understanding about occupational therapists or OTs, where they work, how they help adapt people to their workplace, succeed at school. Like I didn't even think about this. I hear school and occupational therapists, they go together. How they help you manage at home and participate in the community and overall help people to better their lives. Yeah. So I'm going to share a screen. Are you guys ready to share it with me? All right, Here we go, Miss Sharifa. Share screen. Okay. 1 second, we're finding it. Okay, you ready, Miss Sharifa?
I'm ready.
We're not used to this so often. Can you see it?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, let's go.
Our job is to make sure you receive safe, effective care from OTs. We are a public resource. In the occupational therapy profession, OTs can work with people of all ages and all abilities. It isn't easy to define our scope of practice because occupational therapists can work in healthcare settings, such as hospitals and clinics, in education settings, such as schools, and even in client homes. OTs can assume a number of different roles. Occupational therapists help people to learn new ways of doing things, regain skills, develop new skills, use materials or equipment to help make their lives easier, and adapt to an environment in ways that work better for them. OTs help people do the activities they want and need to do every day. An OT can work with a young child to help develop handwriting or strategies to manage classroom work. An OT can work with a patient following a stroke or brain injury to treat cognitive impairment. An OT can work with a patient who is living with a mental illness such as schizophrenia to manage their condition and help them live independently. An OT can work with a client in need of assistance with a wheelchair to ensure they can remain at home. Occupational therapy applies to workplace, leisure and social activities, getting around, self-care, and more. OTs work to improve the function for a patient as it pertains to things in their life that are most important to them. OTs strive to improve the quality of life for all the people they work with, and we at the college oversee the practice of occupational therapists in Ontario. To learn more, please visit us online at coto.org. We look forward to helping you.
So what did you think about that, Sharifa? It's really, can I say something?
Go ahead.
No diss to the video. I love the video. I found it so informative, but I'm not gonna lie. I was like, why is the Black girl got to be the one with the with the mental issues? I mean, we know that they're crazy.
Secretly, I said that too. I'm like, why she got to be the one with mental health? Nonetheless,
I was dying.
Nonetheless, I feel like honestly, Cleo, we can end the show now. Like they gave us everything.
It does. It really does.
It's really informative. And I feel like it gives a good perspective to let us know what they do. And who would have thought, like you said, schools, they're helping little children.
They're helping people. I think what the key word was, and it brought it up there, they help people live the life they want to live. So this is really, which is what I'm so about in terms of if you're not living the life that you want to live, if you're having difficulties, if you're a mom trying to figure out how to cook for your family and your friends, if you're if you're somebody that is disabled, and it doesn't have to be a wheelchair. I'm not in a wheelchair, right? But I have my walking stick because someone gave me that idea. Okay.
Let me say,
go.
I feel like we don't know how simple it can be, and I'm going to remind you how simple it can be. In doing our research, we came across a video of a man that went to a cafe to pay for coffee, and the occupational therapist was right beside him to kind of guide him as to just give the cashier his money. Yeah. To show you there are different things that people need. Everyone has different needs, and what might be simple to us is not simple to others, but it goes to show that there are people out there to help you do anything you need to do.
Maybe that's why it's called occupational, because it's work. Like whatever you have to do in your life is work, and managing it. I don't know where it came from, but it's really, I can't even explain to you guys, like all the things that come with it, like the ideas that they give. But yeah. Sorry.
I really like the video. I like the video. So, okay, Kalila, since the onset of your first car accident in 2017, you have had to interact with a few occupational therapists for your long-term disability, insurance companies, lawyer requests, and even for yourself as you utilize government assistance. Can you share your journey with our audience?
Okay, so here's the deal, you guys.
Mhm.
Pretty much, as Sharifa has said, I have had a lot of interactions with a couple of different people, and I didn't even know what it was. And here's the story. So back in 2007 was my first slip and fall, or my only slip and fall. Thank you, Jesus. When I was getting back to work, it took about six or 7 months for me to get back to work. But when I got back to work, I learned the word ergonomics because an occupational therapist came in just before I started, and we measured my chair height, we measured my keyboard height, we measured my mouse, we measured a lot of different things. And so to make me comfortable in my workplace, they got me an ergonomic chair. I didn't have to pay for it. It came out of my disability. They gave me a different computer board that angled the way that it needed to be. They gave me that little soft padding. They even got the mouse. Like, I know we see the small mouses, but here's an example of my ergonomic mouse, right? The way that it fits and curves to my hand. This is how I first found out about the word ergonomics. I always mess it up. Fast forward, my car accident in 2017, when we were trying to get me back into the work, I had to go into rehabilitation. And so what they have is they have occupational therapists that are out there in the same way that you see them helping they're not the physiotherapists, but they're helping you work in your mindset and prepping you. And they were evaluating me for about 2 weeks, and they were the ones that gave the report back to my long-term disability to say she's not ready or that she is ready. Basically what they were doing is in that 2 weeks, they were giving me the ability to kind of rehab my body, but also see if they gave me certain things to tweak with it, how I could adjust myself to get back to work, because that's what we have to do. Everybody knows life comes, you got to tweak a little bit. Fast forward, the insurance companies with the car accident, both them and my lawyers requested a home and out-of-home assessment. So that meant that someone came into my house, watched me. They watched every minute when I got up, when I was in pain, how I washed my dishes, how I got in and out of the tub, how I got in and out of my bed, how I got, how I was doing dishes, if I was able to do that, if I was able to cook and clean, and all of these different things. They did a full assessment in my home to see where I needed help and what ways, and then they made recommendations. So they would say things like, okay, well, she needs a lift so that, she doesn't have to bend down to get her dishes. Instead, it would lift up, like the shelving. Those shelvings that we see? Right. There were things that are little plastic covers, and she's like, if you use this, it would open it up. Those jar holders, the can openers, simple things that we use every day, but they're like, these help people a lot more instead of you utilizing your energy. I got a bed rail because there's certain days I still can't get out of bed. Like right now we're talking, and I don't know if Sharifa's got hers, but I've got my pillow with me today, right? And they had the bed rail. They also had the bath rail. So I have problems sometimes getting in and out of the bath. And whether or not, if you live at home, they can help you drill it in, or if you live in an apartment, they'll help you get one that's attached to just the bed, the bathtub, to be getting in and out. They gave me a shower chair, Sharifa, and as much as it really messed with my head to be like, I'm 40 something, I'm not sitting in my, I was like, wait a minute, I'm 40 something, you can shower a lot better, you can let the water hit on you. But they were giving me a lot of different ideas for, they make recommendations on even those posturepedic beds, the ones that come up and down. They made so many recommendations, even for my car, how to sit in my car, what to get for my car. There were all of these different things. Then when it came to, so the assessment, the insurance companies obviously do an assessment and say, well, can she really do these things? We want to make sure she can or she can't. The assessment come in and they're like, we're doing an assessment to prove to you that she needs this help. But then there was a place where there were programs, and you know me, I'm just like, tell me how to get over this hump. And they're here in Ontario, they have something called LHIN, Local Health integrated network. And it's like a lot of these different hospitals. So there's probably something in different provinces, different states, but they have government programs and they have educational programs, but they also have programs where they can help you get assistance. So when I had no benefits from my work, when I was barely out of benefits with the other, with the insurance company, I called these people and they sent an OT to my house to do an assessment as well. And they were the ones that actually helped me get some of the stuff that I just explained. It wasn't actually through my insurance. And Lynn, if you don't have benefits, they will help you find a way to get what you need for free. I told this to my friend. She got her wheelchair for free. They helped her figure out ways. So I'm going to tell anybody right now, I don't care what kind of finances that you're coming into, having an OT in your life can help you, and having an OT give you suggestions. It's just somebody that specializes on how to make your life easier. Have them come into your house and help them figure out how to do certain things. You know, Sharifa, I wouldn't have a lot of my, I wouldn't have been able to renovate the way that I did before. Like, we're talking about the table. Remember I told you about the table that lifts up and down, or the draft chair that goes up and down, or even my IKEA chair, that table that comes up to me. There's so much out there. And when you have someone else fighting for you and give you those recommendations, it only helps when you want to go back to your work, when you want to go back to your benefits, when you go back to your doctor and be like, well, this person made a suggestion. How do we make it happen?
Right.
So be resourceful. That's what I guess that's what I would really want to say in terms of all of this. Let's really be resourceful.
So I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay, so I have a couple of answers.
When you talk about the going through the insurance companies and, you know, doing the assessments, how stressful is the process? Because I see baga stress.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I feel like anyone can get overwhelmed with the whole process of being assessed here and there. So, tell me, is it stressful at all?
Truth be told, an occupational therapist, whether it's the funniest thing, because my lawyers used to say, you know, when they work for the insurance company, they're going to try and find ways to say that you can't do certain things. But for the occupational therapist, I have yet to meet one whose true heart wasn't about helping people. And so when they've taken, it's kind of like the physician that says that they're going to help. When you're an occupational therapist, the reason why they get into it is because they want to help. And they're there when you go and they're like, what's hurting? You know, they're counting, they might give you an assessment to check certain things out, but they're not, I have yet to meet one on both sides. I've had about 5 or 6 in my life who have not wanted to help. Like, they don't make it stressful. And even though you're bringing them into your home environment, if they're doing a home assessment, they make it as comfortable as possible. And I've had 2 during COVID. They put like those little things over their shoes so that they're not messing up your house. They respect it. Most times they bring their own chair, you know, they just follow you. It's kind of like just a shadow in your house for a few hours. And the time goes by really, really quickly. And all they want to do is observe you. All they want to do is she being truthful, or are they being truthful, or to what extent do they need this help? Not even truthful. I guess I always say truthful because of the lawyer, you know, the accident, and they're like, is she lying, whatever? And I'm like, I'm fighting for my life here. Yeah. But they don't. Even when I went to, even when I did the one at home and out of office, they always ask you, can you do more? Is this your limit? What's your pain tolerance? What's your pain level? And for the first time, you feel like someone's like really, really listening to you, like really listening to you in every different aspect. And I cannot say anything about just praises. Just anyone that has been an OT in my life that has come in, it's been a 2-for-1 thing. Like, it's just a blessing. Right. Yeah, no stress, mama, no stress.
So, okay, with that being said, you said you have someone that shadows you. So, are you able to choose your occupational therapist? Because if we think about it, this is someone that's around us all the time, or is it just like day to day? It's a different person. Like, is it someone assigned to you?
So for the assessments, there's someone that's assigned to you.
Okay.
When they're in the hospital programs, they're already part of the program, so they come to you.
Okay.
When it comes to privatized, you can pick it. When it comes to government funding, you may or may not, depending on the length that you need them for.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends on why you're utilizing them and how much time. Because if it was like a PSW, personal support worker, that was coming in, you'd want to make sure that you get along with them.
Right, right. That's what I think about.
Yeah. All of my OTs have been one day, or they've been part of a program, and they've been great. They've been great as well. So, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So how are occupational therapy services paid for?
Okay. Great question. So in Canada, occupational services may be funded by your provincial health insurance plan. People don't know this. Like your provincial health plan, your OHIP. Like, how many people knew this? For extended healthcare plans, most of them have the occupational therapy services. However, the insurance companies do want that referral from your doctor so that they can better understand the necessity for why it needs to be covered.
Right.
If you're having workers' compensation, if you've been in an accident at work where you've had an illness or an injury, they have the occupational therapist.
Mm-hmm.
If you were in a motor vehicle accident, that's two for me. You can be covered under your auto insurance plan for an occupational therapist. If you are in a long-term disability, same thing. You can get covered. So you're seeing all of these. Like if you get hurt, they're there. What I didn't know, which I'm so proud of our Canadian government to do, if you're a Canadian Armed Force veteran, our Department of Veteran Affairs covers some occupational therapist services. Like,
nice.
I'm so glad to hear that. Then you've got the government-funded programs that provide it. So we're talking about the hospitals, the community health centers, the rehabilitation centers, even the home care programs. It's really funny. I realized I was like, I check off on a lot of these boxes, but it's there. Programs. There's chronic pain programs. There's lupus programs. There's fibromyalgia programs. There's a lot of different programs where this resource is automatically included for you.
Absolutely.
And if by any chance an occupational therapy service is not funded for by your employee or by any of those different benefits, there are some that are working in the private practice who offer competitive rates, and they normally average about 40 to 60 per hour. Now, some people might say, oh my gosh, that's a lot. I would say, is your body not worth $40 to $60 an hour? We need to start changing our mindset. Because remember how I told you I run my body like I run a business?
Yeah, absolutely.
An occupational therapist, if you want to be able to run your body, you need to help people pay for it. So it's not a bad thing. It's worth the time. And you don't need to have one that comes in every single day. Maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Same thing when I do with my massage therapy. But I want to encourage our audience right now. Don't assume your condition is not severe enough. You know, instead, remember that you're the only one to get an answer, or you're the only one to get the answer if you ask. You're the first person that has to identify that there's an issue. And if you don't identify or advocate that you have an issue, no one else can come and support you. Absolutely. It is for you to create your community. So if you're at home, get an occupational therapy. If you've been injured or sick, get an occupational therapist. Even if it happened a decade ago and you're just hearing this right now, find out what services are there, because if you still have pain, acute or chronic, they're there to help you. That's what I'll say.
Yep. I feel like I had one more question, but I feel like you touched on it a little bit, but nonetheless, I personally, and I know there's a lot of us out there that want to know, how can someone find an occupational therapist?
Okay, so a couple of things. You can talk to your physician, your family physician.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk if you already have a social worker, and social workers are another thing that comes in different places, like your government assistance or through a program or because of any of the different injuries. Talk to your lawyer if you have something that's going on and you need to connect with them. There's great support groups. We've talked about how Facebook has great support groups. You can do a group and ask for referrals, or you can find out what groups are out there. And then there's the government programs that will be able to give you the recommendations. Now, there are tons of specialists and associations both here in Canada and the US.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you guys some information. College of Occupational Therapists of Ontario. They are also known as COTO.org. You've got the Ontario Society of Occupational Therapists, which is OSOT.on.ca. You've got the Canadian Association of Occupational Therapists, CAOT.ca. And then for the ones in the US, you've got the American Occupational Therapy Association, which is AOTA.org. So basically, look for a college, a society, or an association in your country, province, state, or local area.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go into that, when you go onto their site, they will say to you, find an occupational therapist. That's if you want to do it privately. But if you want to do it through your programs, then go onto your hospital programs, government programs. Do a quick research in terms of, like, if I had you do it, Sharifa, if you said Ontario lupus programs, a whole bunch of them would come up, and then you would be able to find something that's in your area.
Right.
And then within the details of the program, they'll tell you what services are available within it as well. So that's how we kind of do it. But any other questions? I feel like we've got through today.
No, and you know what? Like I said, with that video, everything was covered. Like, we could have just ended the show. But I'm glad you shared your experience with our audience, because a lot of people, like we said, they're not educated. I know I definitely wasn't as educated as I am now with, us doing this show. And that's what we're here for, right?
I think that that's what is such a blessing when it comes to it all, at the fact that we're learning so much, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not you're following us and you've watched a couple of our shows, as we learn, we're educating. But, send us a DM, ask questions, even after a show's been posted. Like I said, we don't get to talk about everything, but we're definitely becoming knowledgeable. And I said to Sharifa the other day, honey, there's 52 weeks in a year. And if we do this show almost 52, about 48 times per the year, do you know how educated we will be? Do you know how much stronger our voices will be? And I say that to say to our audience, what would you do if you spent 24 hours over 1 week trying to figure out who's able to help you?
Mm-hmm.
What would your next year look like? If you literally took, 2 hours a day and said, let me find out what programs there are. Let me find out what services there are. Let me find out what kind of medications there are. Let me find out what my other options are, my alternatives. What would your life look like in a year later if you opened up your community, opened up your knowledge and things like that? I have a question for you. I've talked about it. You've heard about all of this. Tell me, are you going to look into an OT, Sharifa? Do you feel
Honestly, I really think that I'm thinking about when you said social worker. I have a social worker through my dialysis program that I'm actually going to hit her up and say, hey, like, what's the dealio? I don't see why not, especially if I know that I can get access to it for little to nothing. Why not take that opportunity?
Well, here's my thing. You've talked about you having your surgery coming up with your kidney, and you've talked about being down for an hour. For almost a year. This is where you should be prepping with your social worker and saying, we know this is coming. It's not if, but it is coming. Can we have an OT over who can help you figure things out? She may say, wait, but at the same token, if you advocate, sometimes we are waiting for people to be like, okay, stop waiting for other people. It's your life. Get that assessment. And on top of it, Rifa, you don't even know how long with COVID it's going to take for a lineup. Get your name on that list sooner than later.
You know what I also thought, what also came to my head is that sometimes we don't know how much we may need one until we get that interaction to say, hey, like I should have gotten this a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So better late than never nonetheless. But when you said social worker, it was in the back of my head that I need to make that phone call,
Make that phone
leave
call.
her a message, and get things rolling for sure.
And, you know, the other thing is, before people turn around like, I got a social worker, why didn't she tell me anything? That social worker deals with 100 and something other people.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is why it's really important for you to advocate for your voice. You found out that there's a resource, go and find out if you can utilize that resource, but it will send you on the right path. Your social worker will send you on the right path.
Absolutely.
You ready to close it up, Mama?
I'm ready.
Okay, so as usual, let's close it up with our Keep It Moving moment, which says this: medicine adds days to your life, but occupational therapists add life to your days. Amen. Mic drop.
Like we're at the poetry thing, and we just snap. Facts. I love that.
I want life back, you know, which is why, you know, I'm always traveling. I want my life. I don't just want days. I want life. Even if my days end in tomorrow, everyone will say she had her life. And I want that for our chronic pain conquerors. What about you? What do you?
That might be my favorite Keep It Moving moment so far. And we're on the second season, so we've had quite a few. That it speaks volumes.
It does. It
speaks volumes. I really like that. That's my number one so far. So we're gonna see if anything can top that over time. But
okay. So tell me your final thoughts about this show. I know that I've been the one that's been talking the most, but
so my final thoughts, like I said, different perspective as to what I thought occupational therapist was. Like I said, I'm going to look into it for myself, but I also want our audience to take the time and think about it. You may not need it. Let's just be honest. You may not need it. But if something in the back of your head wants to explore the idea and see if it can enhance your, you know, your day-to-day life, your day-to-day living, I don't see why it shouldn't be something that's explored. It may not be forever. It may just be for a time. It may be something happens and you need it for just a few months. But I'm glad that we did this so that others out there know what it is and know that it is an option, and you don't have to be in a special situation to get that help. So I hope they take good advice and try it out. There's no harm done.
I love it. I think that's the best. I like the way that you said it, because you were like temporary too. That was one thing I didn't talk about, but I'll put in my final thoughts is, you know, you're right. Some of this may be temporary. Like my chair and my bath rail, temporary. And then I had to put them back in after the second accident, but temporary. And it's okay to have something temporary, and it's okay to have something permanent, but it's better. It's more okay.
Yeah.
As long as you're going towards to live your life, right? And that's the key plan. So that's it, guys. That's our show. I'm Kalila Bruswell, the Overcomer.
And I'm Sharifa McLaren Thomas from YouTube's The Thomas Life.
Yes. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Chronic Pain Conversations. We'll be back next week at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with part 2 of Safe Spaces, Working from Home, and your home, your work, and other environments. And Sharifa and I are going to be sharing some things with you about our own homes. We will be looking at making your discomfort comfortable, how and where to get an assessment, equipment for your work and home. Okay? Be sure to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at CP Conversations. And if you're a chronic pain sufferer who deals with scoliosis, sickle cell anemia, maybe alpha thalassemia, we would love for you to share your story. We invite you to be our guest and follow our bio link on any of our social media platforms. So we just want to say, have a blessed day, and remember, Chronic Pain Conversations is the show that enlightens and advocates about chronic pain. Have a blessed day. Bye.